Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pattern Interrupt Show with Jess and Amy. Today, we are talking with Gabe Arnold, a dear friend of both of us, and we're going to be talking about tattoos and taboos, curse words, and all that, about really just being your authentic self and going with it, especially when you're talking about your career and all that stuff. So I hope you enjoy today's episode of Pattern Interrupt Show. It seems really interesting because a lot of people on social media lately are pointing this out, like why tattoos are not more widely accepted in 2018. And Jess, you always say like your grandmother, I think, or your mom is always wondering why you curse so much. So we thought it'd be a good topic, especially with Gabe Arnold, who has shown us live to the world his tattoos.
Are we doing that now?
You don't need to show us, but I mean, you clearly don't care. You've been doing this for 20 years, but
Yeah.
like, and you have employees, you have been done in-person sales. Like, has it impacted any of that? Like, have you changed over time, especially 20 years ago versus now?
Yeah, it definitely changed over time. And I think I know what conversation you're talking about that you've seen online about people saying that tattoos aren't acceptable or whatever. I don't think there's any difference today than there was 20 or 30 years ago when it comes to tattoos. I don't think there's any difference at all. I think as far as like people be accepting or not accepting of them. I could be totally ignorant, but that's my opinion. I think the big difference is now we have a platform to talk about it, which makes things more highlighted and aware. And just like in real life, we only pick up and hear the things we want to hear. At least most of us. It's just like, a few years ago, bought Rachel a Buick Enclave. Now everybody drives Buick Enclaves. I know that's the example everybody uses, but recency makes us think about things. So I don't think there's a huge difference. But I do think that when people say, oh, that nobody's very accepting of tattoos, or nobody likes it when you curse, like everybody gets offended when I curse, things like that. Usually it's because they're working out their own self-confidence issues around that problem. I got tattoos intentionally 2 or 3 years ago because I was like, I'm no longer relatively certain. I'm 100% fucking purely certain that I will never work for somebody else again. If I do, it'll be a very temporary stint, or I'll be in there as a consultant, but the odds of me having to, sit in an office every day, again are low. On top of that, I could walk into an interview with my shirt off, which I realize would be unprofessional, and I could still get the job. And because I know how to solve problems and do work, and like I would explain to them why I had my shirt off, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's really cool. I like it." I would tell them why they should like that I came in different, and they will never have an interview like that again in their life. And if they want that kind of energy in their company, I'm the guy, and I'm $250,000 a year base. Like if I had to go get a job, I would go get it. So I think a lot of times that people, before they get tattoos, before they get tattoos that show, which is the same thing, by the way, they're all worried about what people think about it, and it's an internal issue. It's a self-confidence issue. It has nothing to do with that. It's weird, and I don't really like it, to be honest, but I can't tell you how many times in public, random people or new people I meet, they come and go like, "Oh, I love your lion. That's so cool." I'm like, "Why are you touching me?" So I don't know where this rejection comes from. And I understand if a company has a policy, like somebody told me that this big, coffee shop doesn't let you have tattoos. That's fine. Like that's their prerogative. It's their company. If I wanted to say, whatever I wanted, like you have to dress this way to work for me, even though you work from home, that's my prerogative. Like it's my company. I can make up the rules. It's my world. So I have no issue if people want to do that. But I think it's such a I don't think that's the real reason why people say, oh, people are offended about my tattoos. And cursing, there's a big difference between stupidity and cursing. And most people think when you're cursing that you're stupid because they don't curse. And that's not actually what's going on. If everybody follows me in different spaces and places, you'll see I know how to speak appropriately most of the time, unless I've drank too much, and that's a different story. And I don't do that very much anymore. But if you know how to speak appropriately at the bar, yeah, I'm going to say fuck all the time because it's a bar and there's no little children there. At my sister's house, she's very religious, and I respect that, I don't say fuck. Like she wouldn't appreciate that, so I don't. Like in general, like I don't want her kids to say, "Oh, Uncle Gabe taught me that." But so I'm just consciously aware of like where I am, and I use whatever words I want because I'm intelligent enough to know the difference between cussing inside the Sistine Chapel probably would not have been a good idea, so I didn't do that. So I don't know. That's my quick take. Yeah, it's like whatever's effective, because I use my words intentionally most of the time. There are times where I just say what is on my mind, but I try to avoid that. So if I'm using a word, it's for a reason. I'm trying to get your attention.
And I feel the same. I mean, I use the word fuck in my branding. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere I am. I don't curse in front of my children. My daughter thinks crap is a bad word. So she's 6 and I'm pumped about that. But it's situational. I mean, yes, it may slip. Sometimes I may say shit or something. I mean, because it is part of who I am. So making sure that I am being authentic and putting that into the world. Again, that's another reason that I'm an entrepreneur. I can do what I want and I can be who I am and I can put that into the ether. But like Gabe said, I feel like it is situational. Like if I were to talk to one of my clients, I probably wouldn't say fuck because I don't. Again, that's a relationship. I mean, I can still be professional and have tattoos and curse, but I still kick ass at what I do. So I think that conventionally sometimes, it is a taboo, thing, or sometimes it's just taken wrong. I mean, if you have tattoos, you're not a bad person, or you're not this type of person, or you know what I mean? You don't fit under these, stereotypes. But I say fuck, and I have the word fuck printed on my LinkedIn, on my Facebook, and I'm cool with that. And if people don't like it, then that's totally cool with me because I probably don't want to hang out with them. I probably don't want them as a client. So it just allows me to live my best life and having clients that are my friends and having, a tribe that supports me and appreciates that. I do go to church. I am a Christian. I don't say fuck at church. And I don't think that Jesus is mad at me for saying fuck. I think that if I live the way that I should live my life by loving myself and loving others and being kind to myself and being kind to others, then I think that pretty much trumps how many times I say fuck a day. But yeah, that's my personal opinion.
Oh, sorry, something froze. I'm going to teach my son to swear. I'm actually in the process of teaching him how to use different words and where to use them. I'm not teaching him to say shit and fuck and all that stuff already, but I'm teaching him. We have conversations now. Like it's appropriate to say, these things here. It's like we play with Nerf guns at home, and like he's a little boy, and we can run out in the woods and we shoot dinosaurs and we do all sorts of crazy stuff together. But at school, he is not allowed to use the word gun. It is absolutely not allowed. And so I said that's a word that's appropriate here at home, but not out in public and not at school. And like there's appropriate places to do that. And I forget the other word we were working on the other day, but I think I was teaching him to say crap because I thought that was a good starting point. And I'm like, you can say that around here, like, but I'm like, we don't say that in front of girls, and we don't say that at school. And that way, I'm going to teach him to say fuck, not some little shithead that he meets somewhere that teaches him that it's all crazy and dirty and like that it's so cool. It's not. It's just a fucking word. But don't say it at school and don't say it at church with your mom because that will not fly. And when you do, I'll be the guy getting a call about it, and and then you won't be able to play iPad for a week. So,
But how old is he?
He'll be 7 in October. So
yeah, we started Kate with sort of. So I curse more than I think my husband would like me to. He curses, but I don't have any issues saying around Kate. I don't, and she's almost 4. But I know, like, I'm not going to say everything around her unless it slips. She has said the F word. It sounds really adorable.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
So we had to do some re-educating on that. But I mean, not even the curse words. She plays video games with Duncan, and so she started going around shooting baddies in her kitchen. I'm like, we might need to work on this. So yeah, I mean, they're sponges, but I do look forward to when she can better understand what we're telling her. But I told Duncan, I was like, studies show that women who curse are more confident and they're more productive. I don't know how much else, but I think it's because they don't care what other people think. They're going to use a word, and because it's a word. Like, I'm like you, Gabe. Like, I have a large vocabulary. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a 4-letter word like I use a 16-letter word or something. I mean, it's like you said, intentionality, and it's not necessarily stupidity. It might be somewhat unprofessional to go into a courtroom and say certain words.
It won't be unprofessional. It'll be a fun night in jail.
Okay, that's what it is.
No, that's a great example of, like, no, you shouldn't say fuck you to the judge. It's not going to work out. I've been in court enough to know that. But like, if Arliss came in and said shit in front of me, I would talk to him about it. Doesn't bother me at all. However, on vacation, we went through this like 1,000-year-old museum, and he got outside with me, and he knew better because we were outside. And he's like, that was so lame. And he got in trouble for that. Yeah. Because it's inappropriate and it's disrespectful. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know where you heard that. I said, what did you say? And he knew he was in trouble. And I'm like, I don't know where you heard that. That's not how we talk about history. It's not how we talk about the things that we just saw. And this is something that Rachel and I really enjoyed. I'm like, you don't have to enjoy it. That's totally okay. But we don't say shit like that. I didn't say the shit part. But but like, if he walked out and said that was so fucking cool, I would be like, oh, where did you hear that? Or let's talk about, and that would be totally okay with me, because he was using his words in the correct way, whereas he just said something he heard on YouTube. And I was like, I don't mind if you say that when you're messing around or playing whatever, but we don't talk about people like that or places or, something that Rachel and I invested a few bucks in for you to be here. So yeah, I care about what people are actually saying. I don't give a shit what words they use to say it in most cases. And there are certain words you shouldn't say because there's too much history behind them. But those are a pretty small exception. There's a small grouping there, in my opinion.
We talked about that the other day. We were like, I mean, of course, we talk a lot and spend a lot of time together. And we were discussing some of the words or things that are off limits. Now, of course, we differ in our opinions, and we respect that, even though they're different opinions. But we were just talking about what things are totally a no-go for us and what's completely inappropriate. And I feel like you need to define that sometimes in relationships, especially if you spend a lot of time with someone, or like partnerships, or if you're working with someone, having that level of respect and transparency, and like, oh no, like, I don't tolerate this. And because you have that level of respect for someone, then that is something that they, wouldn't choose to do, or they would, be more careful about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I know some of it's going to be like baggage. Like, some people, like, they don't like the word moist. I have no problem with that. But some of it's just silly baggage. And then some of it's like, there's an actual thing. Like we were saying, like Gabe, you said, if there's like, if that is a historically, like that word has never been used for a positive thing, then it just shouldn't continue to be used, in our opinion. Maybe.
And there's certain, and I am not allowed to say certain things that you guys are allowed to say as women. Let's just be honest. So like, there's certain things that like I don't have the right to say those things.
Well, you can also say that about certain ethnicities.
That's what I'm saying. So like, you know, if you're African American, you get to say things that your culture says that we don't get to say, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, we just need to call it what it is. And so it's not, there's things that you should say and there's things you shouldn't say. And it's like, if you're not smart enough to know the difference, then you're going to have problems in life. And it should grow and adapt and change. I said something 2 weeks ago that just like slipped out on a live that I decided not to bring light to. But after it, I was like, I am never going to fucking say that again. That was the most embarrassing thing I've done in a long time. And it was, but like 10 years ago, I would have said that and more. Like, and it wasn't, you know, it was just something stupid that I said, but it was like, so there's like, we have to definitely grow and improve along the way. And you're going to realize later on how insensitive it was to say something you said before. And that's okay, as long as you're changing. Michael Che has this awesome bit on Netflix, and he's talking about like different genders and like transgender and bi and like people's sexual preferences, and it's a fucking hilarious episode, by the way. That's what's the most important thing. But comedy, I think, is one of the most brilliant art forms, because you're allowed to do whatever you want, because it's just a joke. Kind of. And so he's like, I think that you should start by saying what you think. He's like, this Michael Che guy, he said, I called somebody a tranny and I didn't know that was offensive. He's like, I didn't know I was supposed to say that they were transgender. Or he's like, so I started with what I knew. And he's like, how would I ever improve if I didn't just start by saying what I think? So it was like a really interesting perspective on it. And so there's a lot more of that conversation that we have to have as a world community. And people need to forgive, you know, and let go of some of the stupid shit we've done. And some of us need to stop saying stupid shit.
Some of us need to be okay with hearing that we said something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, accept it. And another thing too, I think that's important. I think Tori Reed made a post about this. People that have influence or a platform need to be aware of that and use it appropriately. So if you have a platform, if you have a fan base or an audience or followers, people are seeing what you say and what you do. And you should be aware of that and not abuse that. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's very important that you are choosing your words appropriately and make, like you said, Gabe, you realize, you reflected and looked back and decided that you would never say it again. And again, you have a platform and people are following you and people see that. So whether you believe it or not, you do influence others and their thoughts and decisions and the things that they maybe even say. So I think it's even more important for the people that have an audience or have a platform to be very conscious and careful about exactly what they're choosing to put out there in the world.
No, absolutely. You definitely have a responsibility if you like, you have a responsibility if you have any following, which if you have children, you have a following. If you have siblings and family members, you have a following. If you have a Facebook account, you have a following. So don't be a dick. But
really, for me, that's what it comes down to, is be kind. Be kind and respectful and tolerant. Other people have different views than you. You have different views than other people, but that doesn't mean that they are not people, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be kind to them and respect them. Now, I may completely 100% disagree with someone and not have the same viewpoint at all, but that doesn't mean I don't respect them as a person and I'm not kind to them as a person. Now, again, what's nice about social media is you can unfriend and block so that doesn't, soak into you. But it all comes down to being kind and respectful of other people's viewpoints and, values. Thank you so much for watching the Pattern Interrupt Show with Jess and Amy. It was awesome to have Gabe Arnold on and share some of his wisdom with us. Stay tuned for next week's episode where we will be in Chicago. Have a great day, Interrupters.